Hey there, my Rotation 411 Astrology subscribers. So what we're going to be talking about today is Venus square Uranus. And what this is, I have a few examples of this, but of course I can only recollect one now that I finally sit down to shoot the video. Maybe a few others will come back to me, but so I'm just going to kind of go over what the planets mean and then how this would affect a relationship, hypothetically, with a little bit of example. So when we have the planet Venus, right, this is our planet of love, pleasure, how we communicate love, sensuality, the arts, money, tangible things, singing, the voice, because we're dealing with the second house, Taurus, Libra, which rules the throat, right, the throat chakra, the voice. And then we have the seventh house in Libra, Venus, which is more like social skills, being charming, being graceful, being diplomatic, fair, balanced, a partnership sign. So Venus represents all of these things. And aside from the moon, well, Venus is kind of like not a combination. It sort of exhibits the moon in the sense that it's feminine and it's dealing with how we partner with someone, how we are in a love relationship. So that is how it is a lot like the moon. When Venus is involved, it's, the romance, it's almost like fifth house, except for that's the sun, right? And then when we have Mars involved, that's sort of like the more physical side of Venus, more that masculine, physical, seventh house, Libra is a masculine sign. So it's kind of more relatable to Mars in that it's sort of the action of love, right? Where the moon is more the passive, how we feel loved, I would say. I'm kind of making that up. Yeah, because the love language is how we feel and give love. So it's almost like people say Venus is the love language planet, but I would say she's more of the how you give love, and then the moon would be the language that you understand. Some people, the book kind of makes it seem like your love language. I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, The Four Love Languages, but the book makes it sound like you'd only be one of the love languages, but I had two when I did the little quiz in the back, and it makes a lot of sense. So I think one is how I give and one is how I receive. So these aren't mine, but let's say, for example, I should title this video The Love Languages. Maybe I will. So if you're like, say, the love language where you are giving gifts and words of affirmation, you might give gifts to show your love, but you need to hear words of affirmation. Gifts aren't going to do much for you, so you need to hear, kind of like compliments or, reinforcement, warm reinforcement that makes you feel really loved. Or if you are, the language that you speak is acts of service, and the language you understand is physical touch, being touched. And it could even be interchangeable, like maybe you feel it, but you can have more than one, is my point. But anyway, so I would say Venus is more that the way that you speak your love language, and the moon would be more the way that you receive it. So that being said, Venus and the moon are the most important when it comes to love, okay? Aside from Mars, but that's a little bit more about physical chemistry. So anyways, Uranus is the 11th house, rules Aquarius, and it's unpredictable. It's a spark. It's spontaneity, technology, electricity. Some astrologers say, rules astrology, which, the 8th and 12th are more occult secrets of astrology, but Uranus is more that like humanitarian interest in the people that connects you with astrology. Sometimes it doesn't always connect people with astrology though, but it definitely can be an area of fame too, like the 7th and the 10th, or even the 5th. So in its own way, it's networking, humanitarianism. Uranus, unpredictable, very unpredictable, changes. Uranus, the interesting thing is it's not like the moon that changes signs every day or two and kind of is moody and the tides and the waves. It's more like Uranus, it's also co-ruler of Aquarius with Saturn. So it can have long stretches of being consistent, and then it will suddenly, kind of like Pluto can suddenly take things away and then give you it back stronger. Uranus can kind of suddenly end something, and then it can suddenly bring it back on like it never ended, kind of thing. Or, you know, it could take you away entirely, you know. And so sometimes when we're dealing with Uranus contacts, there can be in a relationship a consistent pattern where it's like it's 6 months on, 2 months off, 6 months on, 2 months off. Usually it's more like inconsistent pattern, so it might be 4 months on, 2 months off, 8 months on, 2 months off, 1 year on, 2 months off. But it might not be 2 months off. It could be 2 months on, 6 months off. It's kind of an inconsistent, but it'll keep bringing you back to the same person. Either it'll be kind of brand new when you get back, or it'll be exactly the same as before it broke up. But it can create this on and off unpredictable inconsistency in a relationship. So I've decided to make this video. I was gonna just do Venus square Uranus, but I'm gonna touch on Mars square Uranus and the Sun square Uranus as well, because these are all red flag aspects, and they're very close to being on my deal breaker list, especially Mars square Uranus. But you know, my deal breaker list is about 5. If you want to see those, you can watch the Are You Wasting Your Time video. I'm going to do, you know, elaborate on those in some future videos and stuff too. But I'm really tempted to add Mars square Uranus into like the part 2 of that. So think about, let's just cover Mars really quick because I feel like it'll be a little bit quicker. Mars is the planet of action, right? It's our physical passion, our chemistry. So when Mars is, you know, if Venus is how we are romantically and how we give love, Mars is how we, you know, the things we like to do together, the places we like to go, the plans we like to make, that's somewhat Mercury too, and how we actually physically, you know, touch, mingle, and all of that. So if Mars is square Uranus, what this does is it's like Mars and Uranus, I would say, I could be wrong about this, I actually don't know this for sure, so this is my own conjecture here, I don't have any backup that I can think of for this, but Mars and Uranus should get along pretty well. I have to look at Vedic astrology a little more for that answer, but because Mars rules Aries and it's sextile Aquarius and Uranus, so they should get along fairly well. I'm pretty sure they do, but anyways, not like, they're probably neutral or something, maybe a knocker. So anyways, when Mars, this planet of how you interact physically, becomes square Uranus, one day you might be best buddies, getting along, hanging out like an Aries and Aquarius would, right? The signs ruled by this. And then next thing you know, it could be just like, especially with Mars, it's a little bit more of an immediate shakeup from Uranus. So it could be like you hang out one time, everything's cool, everything's really physical because we're dealing with Mars. And even if you're friends and you're not being intimately physical, it could just be like you went hiking together, or you went hot tubbing, or you went skinny dipping, or because it's Uranus, think, you know, a little bit spontaneous and maybe dropping inhibitions. And Mars is, you know, masculine aggression, phallic, it goes along for the ride. So anyways, and then the next time you see Uranus, and even if you live with them, it could be the next day, like you had a great week and something really exciting might have even happened, and then all of a sudden one day it's like Uranus and Mars, since they're squared in this scenario, they're not connecting. As a square kind of brings more power, but it also is power that can easily go to a negative default in behavior. So if it's not being breathed to life in a positive way, and you know, a lot of times when you just get around someone you haven't seen in a while, or you meet someone and you have this, it's breathing a lot of positive life into it, so it manifests very powerfully in a good way. This is why squares can be very deceiving, especially the ones that will break you, not so much the ones that are manageable. So anyways, so then all of a sudden it can be like you're in the same room. And I kind of use this to describe Mars square Jupiter sometimes too. Like if the two lived together, they couldn't pin the other down. But this is more like you're in the same room and you're looking at each other and you're like, why is everything weird? Why are we not connecting? Like, why are you over there and I'm over here? And yesterday everything was fine, and tomorrow it'll probably be fine again. But today it's just really like you're kind of avoiding each other, but you're not, because you're looking at each other like, why won't you come over here? So it's like this weird disconnect, right? Because Uranus can come and just disrupt things. And so that's basically how Mars square Uranus works in a nutshell. And you apply this to any situation, and you can see that couples that can't, usually with Mars square Uranus, it's going to be pretty hard to get together in a committed relationship. It could be more of not an affair, but someone that, like a kind of like a glorified booty call. Like, you could really be trying to make it work with this person, but you just never quite know what to expect. And it's hard to keep labels on a relationship when we're dealing with Uranus, which is why you definitely should watch the Sun trine Uranus video too. I'll try not to go into it too much here, just so people can find the differences. But okay, so now let's go ahead and get into Venus square Uranus, which was the original theme of this, and then we'll touch on Sun square Uranus, because Venus is going to be the hardiest, right? And we already talked about what Venus is. It's the way we express love, the arts, partnership, the voice, all of these beautiful things. And so when we put Venus square Uranus, which is, right, spark, unpredictability, spontaneity, again, this square is going to create this strong attraction, romance, spark in the beginning. But over time, what happens, and this is more of the one where it will be like they're on for a little while, because Venus wants to please. It can be very much the people pleaser in a way, in a sense. So Venus is like, going with the whims of Uranus for a while. But since they're squared, they're very different. They're in different elements, different polarities. If they're squared, I'm pretty sure, one of them is going to be masculine and one of them is going to be feminine, or negative or positive if it's squared. So they do not, they're not coming from the same polarity whatsoever, and it's already a square. So Venus is just going to try to smooth this over, accommodate it, patch it up. Oh, I love them, I love them. And Uranus is exciting, so that makes them love them even more, because it's still aspecting them, right? So there's a square, you're still getting a little bit of the positivity. So they're still feeling that little spike they would feel if it was Venus trine Uranus, right? Even the conjunction here could be pretty tough, because Uranus is shaking up Venus constantly. It could almost be worse than the square, I would say. But anyways, the problem is Venus is our love, our heart. So when Uranus does do something unpredictable, like up and leaves for 2 months, Venus gets hurt. And when Uranus comes back, Venus tries to, and acts like nothing happened, right? Venus really thought they were gone forever. So Venus is so happy that Uranus is back, this spark, this light of their life, right? So they welcome them back in. Usually, it depends on the Venus. Maybe if it's a more stubborn sign, or a more intelligent sign, like even Gemini or Aquarius, Venus might not be so quick to take someone back. There could be a few other ones too, like maybe Taurus might, but Taurus is pretty loyal and committed though, so I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up there. But whatever sign this Venus is in, like if it's in Pisces or it's in Libra even, they could be a little acquiesce and welcome this person right back. So Uranus is like, I'm back, and Venus is like, I'm so excited, and they're ready to forgive everything, because Venus can be a very forgiving usually as well. So they're just all ready to go. And then next thing you know, it's like when everything's fine and settled and perfect, and Venus is totally content, because Venus is also our creature comforts, and like it's sort of like our comfort zone. Then Uranus will have to shake that up. Okay, so Uranus will up and leave again, or break up with Venus, or start a big fight with Venus and hurt Venus. And over time, the reason why this is a red flag is usually Venus doesn't understand why Uranus left again, right? And they just want them back so much because they love them, because this is their love planet. So over time though, and it takes a while, sometimes Venus just doesn't understand because they feel so strongly about the Uranus person, and you add other aspects in that might really enhance the strength of their connection and validate why Venus feels this way too. But over time it's gonna wear, and Venus eventually is just gonna be like, I need something more secure. I'm not gonna deal with this unpredictability and these unknowns, you know, and not knowing what's happening. So eventually Venus will put their foot down, and once Venus is the one to break up, usually that's when it's over. But Venus feels like they feel like they cannot, like, that's when they break up. They, for a long time, they're sort of blinded, like they don't know why they can't get out of this cycle. And a lot of times you can't even explain it to them. Like, even if I'm finally, now that I know these things, I'm like, it's Venus square Uranus, they're just gonna keep doing it. They're still like, oh, you know, but can you explain it to me a different way that might change it? Can you give me advice? It's like, it's almost like when we're dealing with the sun and the person really wants to change themselves because their sun is square Uranus, right? And the sun is the ego. So when I see sun square Uranus and the Uranus person just dragging the sun through the mud, I'm like, you know, the reason you feel like you have to change to get them to stay is because it's your sun, your ego, who you are. So you want to change to accommodate Uranus. It's like, of all these relationships where we want someone to change, the sun squaring Neptune or Uranus, or I wouldn't even say, I don't know about, I don't really know any other, even Pluto, but with Pluto the sun doesn't want to change. The sun will resist that. So I've just seen where the sun with Uranus and Neptune will really want to change, because Neptune's like idealism, right? And Uranus, I'm stuttering, and Uranus is just this spark that the sun really likes, because they're also sextile. Leo rules the sun. Aquarius, no, they're opposite. Okay, but this, I don't know if the sun and Uranus are opposite though. All right, now I'm just like got a bunch of puzzles to uncover. So the point is that kind of leads us into the sun square Uranus, right? What's going to happen there is Uranus and the sun can kind of make it work for a while too, like Venus and the sun can. A little bit more serious than Mars, or I mean Venus and Uranus. So the sun in your square Uranus and Venus square Uranus, they can make it for a while. It's a red flag. It will wear on relationship. But Mars square Uranus, it's not going to really come together. It's like they could spend a lot of time together, really like each other, but it's just not really going to come together. Venus in square Uranus, they can get married. Sun square Uranus, a little bit more difficult to get married. It's hard to even get the Uranus person. Sometimes the sun person here, you know, usually sometimes the different planets are affected. They're not going to want to formalize it. They want to keep it like one person. What are we? Oh, you know, we're fine. You know, do you want to be with me? Yeah, one day they do, one day they don't. That happens with the sun. I don't know if I've ever had sun square Uranus myself, but I've definitely seen it with clients, and it's, you know, I've dealt with Venus square Uranus, but not sun square Uranus. So it can be, even the Uranus person sometimes doesn't understand that they're the one shaking things up, and I have to be very gentle, like, you know, maybe this isn't meant to be, not you're the one that's actually kind of erratic here and it has to change, you know, but because they just want to understand that. They think like when they leave it's justified, even if it's really out of the blue, even if like a third party observer would be like, you know. So anyways, I think that about covers it. And now I just remembered that I really want to do Mercury square Sun as a red flag aspect. So I'm going to do that in the next couple of days. And I'm going to do Sun trine Uranus really quick, because it kind of ties into this. So be sure to check it out. I'll put it in the, you know, here somewhere for you once it's finished. Yeah, and I think that about covers Venus square Uranus, Sun square Uranus, and Mars square Uranus. Thank you. Lots of love, blessings, and light too.